Yeah. I don't, maybe that wouldn't be easier. I don't know. It's just like today I have so many tabs. It's just, I wouldn't mind being able to scroll as I go, but maybe that would be harder too. I don't know.
Yeah.
What would really make it the easiest, probably that would be the most work, would be, I think you could probably hyperlink in the same document and be able to jump to different parts of the document using the outline portion or whatever, but I've never done it, and I don't know how much work I'm asking someone to do, so I don't know if that's an idea or not.
Wampo actually does those that way.
Should I unmute now?
It works okay. It's a little confusing if you're not used to it. So,
Hi, everybody.
hey, Jeff Uptoff is coming on.
Okay. Your sound is live now, so getting ready for the meeting here.
What?
So am I upside down or what?
We don't see you yet. It just says J.E.
There it is. You're right side.
There you are. You're not upside down. Okay. This is Diane. Join us here shortly. Ed, you talked to Diane, right?
Yeah, he was on the phone with her like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
I think Ted is trying to help her right now. So
Okay.
Is Justin gone today, or is he waiting for him still?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Yeah, we're Mr. Justin too. I'm glad you said that. I didn't catch on to Justin in there.
Well, Jeff, are your kids going to join us?
No, they're on, they have explicit instructions about the upstairs right now. The free fire zone, they're not allowed up. I had the thought about doing this from my deck, but I don't know if any of my neighbors would appreciate that.
So if I did that, our dog would join for sure.
That's serious transparency, Jeff. You're just letting everybody know what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel's out on his deck. He's just got a black curtain behind him.
Yeah.
Don't give away my secrets.
Yeah, well, we could just meet out in the park and set our chairs 6 or 7 feet apart. And
Hey, that'd be cool.
That's what they're doing on the beaches, right?
Ted said he's on his way over to Diane's house to get her going.
Hey, Jackie.
Oh, he's over there, huh?
Can
Okay.
you text? Do you have
But
Justin?
it'll be a
Can you
few
text
minutes,
Justin
so it's
and
up to
see if
you
he's
if you want to
coming in?
start, man.
Yeah.
Well, I want to see what happened with Justin. Don't see him on, and just send him a text to give him a response, see if he's joining us. If not, we'll move on. There it is.
Here comes somebody else. There he
there's
is.
Justin.
There he is.
Okay.
We got Justin.
His clock's a minute slow.
Well, all right, we're good. So, according to Mr. Lasher, Ted is headed over to Diane's house to help get her started. Apparently, she's having a little technical issues. So, I want to go over a couple ground rules before we get started. Is this our first virtual council meeting? We did the one last week with the workshop, and that went okay. But there were a couple issues, and we'll learn as we go along with it. So I do apologize if anyone experiences issues with this. We have spent a great deal of time working out bugs from the virtual meetings, and so there was an issue of folks talking over other folks simply because they were unaware that other persons were talking. This has to do with the time delay from the time someone says something and the time everyone hears it. It can be just a few seconds, but long enough for someone to believe that no one's talking. So I'm going to lay out a couple of ground rules. First of all, I'm going to ask Ted, our finance director, and maybe Melissa's going to do this in his absence, because he's the go-to meeting host for this meeting, to mute everyone unless and until I call on them. So how would we do that? How do you know to call on anyone? If you look up in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a little circle there that looks like an odd-looking cube. You don't see that, Melissa? You're shaking your head no. And if you click on that, that's a chat. And that gives you the ability to say. So if you want to talk, just add in talk.
Do we need a
Like that.
point of order?
And it should show up to everybody's on everybody's computer. It'll show up talk, so that everybody will know that you want to talk. And then if I see those, I'll call on that person to talk, so that we won't have. Hopefully, we will avoid that people talking over each other. I'll make sure we call on everybody that does that. So the other is on the chat. If you want to talk, just type in talk, and I'll see that, and I'll call them on the order that they're
Are we
printed
live?
there. In a similar way, motions have to be read into the record. So if you want to make a motion, just type in to the chat, motion, and then read the motion when I call on you. This person who wants to second that motion can just type in the chat second, and that then I'll announce that so-and-so seconded that motion. And then when I call for a vote, I'll ask you to type in, or I'm asking you to type in I for yes, A-Y-E. And if you're opposed to the motion, nay, N-A-Y. And if you're going to abstain from that motion, just type in abstain. And I'll announce the final count. It was in 2 recent meetings where we did this, and they worked pretty well. And we created a chat log. In fact, with WAPO, we did this, and it created a chat log. So I have the whole log of the chat. And hopefully this will create a chat log as well. But we're still learning experience, trying to get experience with this thing, so we don't know all the ins and outs of that. So hopefully everyone understands that. And I see Diane is coming on, so I probably need to help her back through all those rules and things. And when you're ready, Diane.
I've got Ted here with me.
Okay. Hey, Ted, how are you?
Hello.
Okay, so I just went over a little bit, some quick rules. I'll briefly go over them again just so that Diane has them as well. You want to pause. You still hear us? I think you said yes.
Yeah. I'm just setting up the chat function. It's a little different on tablets.
Oh, okay. So you're familiar with the chat function on there?
Yeah, a little bit. Here we go.
So Diane, what we're saying is, if you want to say something, because the last meeting people were talking over each other and didn't know it, and because they didn't have that access. And I'm hoping you're hearing all this because
We are.
So trying to help with that process, I'm asking folks to type in talk when they want to talk. And then if they want to, if they want to make a motion, to type in their motion. Now the motion has to be read into the record, so you'll need to read that motion when I call you. But if you type in their talk, then I'll call you to talk so that you will have the floor to yourself and be the only one speaking. and then we won't have that issue of talking over each other. Hopefully that'll work a little better. We're just going to try it and see how it works. And then when we do a vote in chat by typing aye if you're in favor of it, AYE. If you're opposed to that motion, say nay, NAY. And if you're going to abstain from the motion, just type in abstain. And like I told everybody else, we hopefully will get a chat log, so we'll have all that. But I'll announce the results of the vote. If you want to second the motion, all you need to do is just type into chat log second, and I'll announce who seconded the motion. So hopefully that's everybody understands those, and if you do, just type in there agree. I see that John asked, does the chat log get broadcast? I honestly don't know that. We're going to learn, okay? So I don't know that it's broadcast, but the record will be, as the official record is not going to be the chat log. It will be the minutes that we approve at the next meeting, okay? So if everybody feels comfortable and they agree with that, just type in agree in chat log so that we, just as an acknowledgement, not as a vote, because this is not a formal motion or anything like that. It's just,
Mr. Mayor?
just that we understand what the kind of the ground rules are. And then, Taylor, are
Mr.
you
Mayor?
available? Don't see you. There you are. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
You have any comments on the process?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. We would have to go ahead and call the meeting to order before you got any kind of consensus or anything on any topic.
Okay. Even this whole thing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So if we're ready, I will then call the meeting to order, and I will ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Jeff Elshoff,
Here.
Dr. Joel Schroeder,
Here?
Mr. Justin Smith,
Here.
Mr. John Welch,
Present.
Ms. Diane Wynn,
Yes.
okay, and we have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay. Now, we've gone just a thumb sketch process that got put together to try to see if we can. So, are there any questions about that process? Formal portion of the meeting. I just want to try to see if we can't have a little better process. So, Dr. Schroeder has asked us to speak.
I'm worried it's going to make the meeting really, really long. It's, the sort of the bounce back and forth is going to stretch way out. But I put in the chat that I'm certainly willing to give it a shot and see how it works. And we like it or don't like it, I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah, it's just being the guinea pig kind of thing. Justin Smith has asked to talk.
Yeah, just a couple of quick thoughts. One, I am a bit concerned. I wouldn't want this process to do anything to discourage people from sharing a thought or idea. And so I hope that this process doesn't in any way discourage somebody from asking to talk. And the other just question I might have is with Councilmember Wynn. I know that Mr. Henry is working on the tablet setup there, but it appears to frequently be pausing. And I wonder if it is pausing when the tablet is going into the chat. And if so, I wouldn't want that process to be disruptive for Councilmember Wynn on the tablet either. So just a couple of quick thoughts, but I'm certainly willing to give this a try.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Wynn and Mr. Henry, when this pauses, are you still hearing us?
We can hear you. It just, when it pauses, that's when you have to go. You have to go into the chat function, chat with everybody, and then type. So it's a little more complicated, and it'll knock us offline. I'm sure there's a setting somewhere in this that will set it up as a separate window. That's what I was trying to look for. I just can't find it. I don't know. It'd be nice if it was in a separate window, but I can't quite find it on the tablet version. Is anybody else having the same issue?
I haven't noticed it on anybody else's screen. Councilmember Elsa.
I'll just comment. So I am using the city-provided iPad. I haven't noticed any lag issues related to the chat or anyone talking, if that's what the question was. Mine seems to be. It is kind of clunky though. I mean, I got to go manually hit the chat window. I think it'll work out fine, but I just gotta. It's like an extra step. That's the nature of the tablet, I guess.
Okay. Dr. Schroeder.
With Councilman Elshoff also using the tablet, sounds like the hiccup here probably isn't the tablet as far as lag, right? His doesn't seem to be lagging. I didn't notice last time him having any sort of delay or anything. So I think the device itself is probably not necessarily an issue, correct? So if there's lag issues, it must be something else, because I haven't noticed Councilman Elshoff having any kind of drop-offs.
Okay, are you okay now, Councilmember Wynn? Ready? You feel comfortable with what we have now?
Well, I wouldn't call it comfortable exactly. It is clunky, for sure. And for someone like me, who has two different eyesights, which you see me take my glasses off and on and what have you, it's very difficult for me to see the screen in some instances. And by the time I get the glasses on and what have you, you're already past me.
Okay, well, we'll try to bear with that and give you time to be able to manipulate through the process. Mr. Lasher says that Tristan just said she can see the chat windows on YouTube, so apparently it is being broadcast. Dr. Schroeder, you wish to talk.
Another option for Diane, maybe the city, we'd have to talk to Ted about it, but maybe the city could provide her a cheap, large monitor or something to kind of make her experience a little bit better. I mean, if this is going to be 1 or 2 weeks, maybe it's not worth doing that, but if it's going to be a while, maybe we could try to make her experience a little bit better. I happen to have a setup already, so it worked great for me, but if she doesn't have a large monitor or whatnot, maybe you need something a little bit better. I mean, monitors are cheap, setting it up would be the trick, and if Ted thinks that's possible to do with the tablets, maybe that's something we should think about to try to make sure Diane is able to do everything she needs to do.
Okay, good suggestion. Okay, I think we're ready to get going with the regular meeting. So the item 3 is opening prayer, and it says Mayor Benage, but under our policy, I don't read prayer. I will lead a moment of silent prayer, so I'll hear by a moment of silent prayer. Pledge of allegiance to the American flag. I had asked Ted to show us an American flag on our screen, but I don't think he's able to do that because he's not there. So I guess we'll just do the Pledge of Allegiance, and you can, if you have a flag in the room you're in, then we can do that, and we'll just go from there. So everybody will join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
He did show it in the background there of the City Hall. Thank you. All right. Determine agenda additions. Does the city manager have any agenda additions?
I do not, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other agenda additions? Hearing none, we'll go on to item 6, the consent agenda. So This contains only the minutes of the April 7th meeting. Are there corrections or additions? Hearing no corrections or additions, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Justin just came in to talk. Dr. Schroeder, no, it's just Justin, yeah. Okay. Justin Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
Thank you. And Dr. Schroeder.
A second.
First and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, you can vote. Aye if you approve, nay if you don't approve, abstain if you wish to do so. And we have a 5-0 vote, so thank you very much. Item 7, during this period, consideration of appropriations ordinance 2007. During this period, we had $1,958 in refund checks, which are issued on behalf of the rec center for the canceled soccer programs. Of course, I think we're going to have some hard times with the rec center in the near future. Hopefully, this will get corrected soon. But for now, they have no revenues coming in to speak of. Also, Mayor Specialty Services cleaned 3 lift stations, 37th Street, Rock Road, and 53rd Street, as well as installing a bypass valve on Rock Road. Dueling Construction installed 6 water service lines at a cost of $5,900. Questions on the appropriations ordinance? Dr. Schroeder.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appropriations ordinance for 2007.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Smith.
I'd like to second.
First and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, enter your votes. And the motion carries 5-0. So item 8 is city requested appearances. We have none. So we'll move on to citizen concerns. So public comments are to be sent to email to the city clerk at least 2 hours before the city council meeting. That was what we put into our resolution last meeting and received via U.S. mail to the City Hall on or before the day of the City Council meeting, or via other online platform provided by the city's website, explicitly for public comment during the meeting. Does the city clerk have any comments to read? You're muted.
Sorry,
Ted
Robert.
says he was on top.
No, we do not have any comments. We did not receive any.
Okay, thank you. Proclamations is Arbor Day, and I'm going to pull that proclamation up just for a second here. I will read the proclamation, and I will end up signing it tomorrow because actually I print this one, sign it, but I think Melissa has several things for me to sign. So, Arbor Day 2020. To the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Ward proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special date be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas 2020 is the 148th anniversary of the holiday, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind, water, cut heating, and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and the beauty of our community, as trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, I, Jim Benage, Mayor, do hereby proclaim April 24th as the 108th anniversary celebration of Arbor Day in the city of Bel Aire, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. And I will do this tomorrow at the City Hall. Just as a side note to this, and some of you who are about my generation may have had parents or grandparents who remember the Dust Bowl days. My grandmother, I remember telling me about the Dust Bowl days. She lived in northern Oklahoma near north of Tulsa at the time. She said the dust was so bad that she would have to clean the nostrils of the horses so that they could breathe. One of the great things that Franklin Delano Roosevelt did as president was encourage the planting of trees and hedgerows. That made a huge difference in the erosion of fields in the Great Plains. And that continues even today, although there probably needs to be some replanting of those trees now, but just as a side note there. So on to reports, council member reports. So I will start with Councilmember Justin Smith. You're on the top of my screen, so that's the reason you got selected.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report.
Thank you. Councilmember Elsa.
I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wynn.
Yes, sir, I do have a report. And it follows nicely and right after your report regarding Arbor Day. Tomorrow is also Earth Day. And the first Earth Day was April 22nd, 1970. So this is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And y'all have heard me talk because my interest in the environment due to growing up on a farm and having all of that kind of thing. I also was instrumental in starting Bel Aire Recycling, which was begun in December of 1995. And it was held at the maintenance shop, which was set up by the guys who were working there. They would set it up on Friday evening before the time that we would have that. They would set up the gaylords that had been dropped off there down the middle of the shop, and then the residents could drive through the shop, one on each side of the gaylord. It was self-unloading at that point in time, although we always had people there to help if there was someone disabled or had children or things where they needed help. In the early months of that, we would do about 1 ton of recycling, and this was a mixture of cans and paper and that type of thing. By the first anniversary, we had increased that to 12 tons. So December of this year, recycling will be 25 years old. And I think that's kind of a nice anniversary to celebrate. And from those early beginnings, we now have, of course, recycling beside our trash pickups type of thing. And we also no longer have the traffic issues and those kinds of things that go along with it. We also, things that have spiraled off of that would be not only the pickup, but we have cleanup day. I believe that's twice a year. And we have shredding and electronics recycling once a year. There's a small charge sometimes for the electronics, but other than that, all of those activities are just in the nominal amount that you pay with your trash and recycling regularly. So for those people who don't know that history, I thought they might be interested a little bit in how that came about.
Great, thank you.
How long we've been doing it.
Yeah, thank you for that report. It's a great thing we're doing for the community and for the earth. Councilmember Schroeder.
I just want to say I'm a huge fan of Arbor Day. So if you know Neil Diamond, he wrote the book Collapse and Guns, Germs, and Steel. And if you want to see the importance of trees, just look at Haiti, which wiped out their half of the island's trees, and look at the Dominican Republic and didn't. And one's kind of a wasteland, and one's a very beautiful island. And so I think whatever else you think about anything, trees are a great thing that we can all agree on. They make up most of my house, all the wood and whatnot, and so I think they're an awesome thing. So I really hope we all realize. I kind of joke that I'm one of the biggest tree huggers around. I think they're kind of part of the foundation of our economy is trees, and I think the Haiti Dominican Republic sharing the same island is the perfect example of life with them and without them.
Thank you. Councilmember Welsh.
I have no report.
All right, thank you. Move on to Mayor's report. So I have two items. On Tuesday, April 14th, I attended the WAMPO meeting. WAMPO approved the additional funding of our Woodlawn project, and that was an additional $1.36 million. They only get $12 million a year, so that's a pretty significant portion of their more than 10% of their total funds that they get a year. And that moves our total funding from WAMPO to $5.58 million for the Woodlawn project. So the balance of it will be funded by the City of Bel Aire. And our current target planning is that we may see utility work start in August, but that is a target. It's not been confirmed, but that's what we think we will start seeing. I reached out to the leaders at City of Wichita regarding the intersection at Rock and Road and 45th Street, as well as Rock Road from 45th to the railroad tracks. As many as you know, this intersection and section of Rock Road are maintained by Wichita. This project is a high priority on their 2021 project plans. They agreed that if they have the funds available, later this year, they'll move it into the 2020 calendar year. They're not guaranteeing that because they have to see how the other projects that they're working go, but it is a high priority. So if they're able to, there's a very high likelihood it will be moved into 2020. So those are the only issues on my report. From there, I will move on to City Attorney's report.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I just have one update. As you all know, the governor's executive order was extended to May 3rd. The stay-at-home order has been extended, so the public should be aware of that. We don't know what will happen after May 3rd, but we expect continue business as usual as we have under this level 3 operations through the stay-at-home order. Also, another couple of items that came up in executive orders are now the notary can officially witness and sign notary documents via audio or Skype or some other method like that, as opposed to having to meet people in person. So that's helping our notary for business purposes that have to do with the city. And just for the public gatherings that do survive the governor's stay-at-home order are still limited to 10 people. So those are the executive orders that primarily would impact the city. And that's all that I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And I did note that the Subject County Commission is meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and their order, stay-at-home order, is on the table for discussion on that agenda. So if you want to tune into their City County Commission meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m., you're welcome to. City Manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Piggybacking on to the coronavirus, we do get a number of comments via social media and our website about people out utilizing our parks. And I just wanted to let our citizens know that neither the governor nor Sedgwick County Commission has closed parks. So they are open, and Bel Aire has kept our parks open as well. We know people are utilizing them for exercise, for animals, things like that. And we just want to encourage our citizens to remember to follow the guidelines that have been given to us from the state and the county as far as wearing face masks, staying 6 foot apart, and that surfaces can hold the virus. So in other words, playground equipment or handrails, things like that. So I just wanted to let our citizens know that they are open, but we're encouraging them to follow the guidelines that have been set forth by the health officials. Also wanted to mention that SafeWise has released its 6th annual Safest City Awards for Kansas, and Bel Aire this year is the ranked number 15. And so it's in the top 20. We've been in the top 10 before, but again, that, as the chief can tell you, it varies from year to year based on the amount of crime that we have. But it's always nice that we're ranked high on this, and it's basically data from the feds that's collected, and that's where the rankings come from. Wanted to give an update on the census. That's going on right now. Would encourage people, if they're stuck at home, to make sure that you filled out your census. You can do it online. You can do it by phone. You can mail it. They sent out, I think it was last month, actual mailers. So you can go to 2020census.gov. You can call 844-330-2020. And we are always putting that stuff out on social media. But encourage people to make sure that they fill out the census. That's very important for funding for the city of Bel Aire, for Sedgwick County, and the state of Kansas. Kansas so far is at 53.3%, so just a little over half have completed theirs. Bel Aire is currently at 66%, but in the last census, 2010, we got up to 82%. So we've got a ways to go. So I just want to encourage the citizens to please get those filled out or sent back or via online, because it's very, very important for our state and Bel Aire. The last thing I wanted to mention, if people have stopped by or seen the park or the playground equipment at Bel Aire Park, it is actually closed. The reason it's closed is not because of the virus. The issue is that the safety surfacing is crumbling. And so we did receive a grant valued at about $40,000 to replace that. It's been there about 15 years, roughly 14 years. Part of that grant is city additional funding. And then part of it's in-kind services. So the city has to actually come up with $17,000 cash, and then we're providing labor, and in return we're getting $40,000 safety surfacing. So that's a nice benefit. But wanted citizens to know it's not because of the coronaviruses that we've closed it; it's because of the safety surfacing, and that will be the replacement will start here in the next month. And it only takes a few days. It's just getting them here to actually do that. So, but that's all I had, Mayor.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Move on to ordinance resolutions and final actions. So item A is the developer is ready to move forward with the development of Central Park third phase. 2 and which is located in Central Park Addition. The plat was approved several years ago when the city was the developer. Now that development is owned by a private developer, staff worked with the developer to create a development agreement that is before the council. Any questions of our city manager? See no questions. Councilmember Welsh.
Could you explain for everybody exactly where this is located?
Sure. So Central Park Third is actually in the Central Park subdivision. So Central Park basically is where City Hall's at, and it goes from Woodlawn to Rock Road on the south side of 53rd Street. So as you wind through Central Park to get to City Hall, if you're coming from Woodlawn, you'll see that Central Park is kind of divided into different types of homes. So you've got the park, which is the first area of houses as you're coming off of Woodlawn. Then you move, you go across the bridge and the two ponds, and you're into the villa area or bungalow area. And then as you wind on around, you see the pool on the north side. And then to north of the pool, there's an area that's called Central Park Third, and that's where this area is at. So if you drive in there right now, you'll see that there's two roads that are in there, and they both end. And there's a pond up there, and phase two will actually go or finish around the pond and open up about 20 more lots in that area. So that's the area we're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the city manager? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agreement? Councilmember Welsh, would you like to read the motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the development agreement with Nottingham Estates at Hunters Point LLC and authorize the mayor to sign.
I have a second from Councilmember Elsaw. Any other discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. And motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to item B, the developer is ready to move forward with phase two of Central Park Third Edition. Phase two of Central Park Third Edition is submitted petitions for the city to install public infrastructure. The cost of these improvements will be spread as special assessments to those benefiting lots. Are there any questions of staff? Councilmember Elsoff, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept the paving, sewer, and water petitions for phase two of Central Park Third Edition.
A motion and Dr. Schroeder second. Any other additional discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item C, in order to finance the cost of phase two public infrastructure in Central Park Third, a temp note will be issued, which requires resolution approving the respective improvements. Kevin Cowan is here to answer any questions. Cowan. There he is. Anyone have questions for Mr. Cowan? See none, move on to anyone who would take a motion. Councilmember Smith, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I will move to approve a resolution determining the advisability of the making of certain internal improvements in the city of Bel Aire, Kansas, making certain findings with respect thereto, and authorizing and providing for the making of the improvements in accordance with such findings, paving improvements for Park Addition Phase 2.
Thank you. And I see Dr. Schroeder has seconded that motion. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. And the motion carries 5-0. We can move to item D, which is an additional motion related to the infrastructure, and I have no other additional comments about it. But question on item D. Dr. Schroeder, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution determining the advisability of the making of certain internal improvements in the city of Bel Aire, Kansas, making certain findings with respect thereto, and authorizing, providing for the making of the improvements in accordance with such findings, sanitary sewer improvements, Central Park 3rd Edition, Phase 2, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Schroeder and Justin, I'm sorry. Councilmember Smith has seconded the motion. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. And the motion carries 5-0. Item E, similar related resolution. Any discussion? Would someone like to make a motion? Dr. Schroeder, like to make a motion?
I'll motion to approve a resolution determining the advisability of the making of certain internal improvements in the city of Bel Aire, Kansas, making certain findings with respect thereto, and authorizing and providing for the making of the improvements in accordance with such findings. Water main improvements / Central Park 3rd Edition, Phase 2, and authorize the mayor to sign.
2 seconds, one from Councilmember Smith and one from Councilmember Elsaw. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Item F, now that the petitions have been accepted and authorizing resolutions for public improvements approved in the Central Park 3rd, we have bids for the actual construction to consider. Staff solicited bids from the actual construction Staff solicited bids for sanitary sewer mains to be installed. 5 bids were received, with low bid being Mize Construction at $100,558. However, Norwalk came in second and the lowest overall between water and sewer. So staff is recommending accepting the sewer bid from Norwalk of $135,455.50. Our city engineer, Ann Stephan, is here to explain the bidding and construction process and answer any questions. Good evening, Ann.
Hello. So the bids were taken at Baughman Company a week or two ago, and this was bid as one project, so sewer plus water. The contractors put their money in both places, so we can't really accept a contractor for the sewer and a contractor for the water because they have their mobilization as well as their other costs for cleaning the site, etc., spread through both projects. So we need to accept the same contractor for both the sewer and the water project. Otherwise, as the mayor mentioned, NOAC was the low aggregate bid for a total of $197,918.10, and staff does recommend that you accept the bid from NOAC for both the sewer and the water.
Let's see. Okay. Appreciate that explanation. I was not aware of that, but thank you. Mr. Welch, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Ann for that explanation, because that was a question I had, why we weren't accepting the lowest bid in each category and why we weren't bidding it out as one project. So I really appreciate that explanation. Thank you, Ann.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion?
Can I go ahead and make a motion?
Mr. Justin Smith came up with the motion. So,
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to accept the bid from NOWAC for sanitary sewer in Phase 2 of the Central Park 3rd Edition and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
thank you. And a second from Mr. Welch and Dr. Schroeder. Any additional discussion on item F for the sewer motion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. And the motion carries 5-0. On to item G, which is the related item that Ms. Stephan talked about. So staff solicited bids on the water mains to be installed in Phase 2 of Central Park 3rd. 5 bids were being Norwalk was $62,462.60. And any additional questions or things for the Councilmember Welch, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid from NOWAC for water in Phase 2 of Central Park 3rd Edition and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
And I have a second from Councilmember Smith. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. And the motion carries 5-0. Item H, carpet at City Hall has not been replaced since it was built in 2002, meaning it is nearly 20 years old and used for commercial purposes. The 2020 budget includes $40,000 for carpet replacement. Staff solicited bids for commercial carpet and installation. The low bid for the first floor was $15,271.11 from Jabara. And are there any questions of staff? First one is Mr. Welch.
I probably should have let Joel go first, but I was curious, based on these bids, are they in proportion to what we expected to spend for the entire project, since this is only a partial?
Yeah, so we were originally just thinking about replacing the downstairs, or first floor, because it's the worst. It's the most traffic, there's stains, the carpet's coming up, it's ripped, things like that. So we budgeted $40,000, hoping we'd have plenty to do the first floor. And so when we got the bid for 15 and even 20, Ted and I were both very pleased with that, because we were thinking that the $40,000 budget would actually only do first floor. So with the $15,000, getting that replacement, it may be able to actually look at doing the second floor as well.
Okay, and you've looked at the sample quality of the carpets to verify they're good, what we need?
Yeah, so what we're doing is, number one, it's commercial grade. That was a requirement. The other part we're doing is, this is the new type that I think they're 2 foot by 2 foot squares. And so you lay them down, and then if you get a stain on a square, you can replace the square. So you don't have to replace the whole carpet like now. It's all laid in one piece. So the purchase is not just the amount to install and cover the first floor, but it also is buying us backup squares so that over the next few years, if the carpet colors change and this is no longer made, we have squares available. So if there's a stain or a rip or something, just pull up however many squares we need to and replace them.
Okay, thank you.
I had a few thoughts on this. First, randomly, before I go on my big spiel, the squares are fine. I don't care what you get. You get whatever you want. I don't care. Likely when the carpet gets a year old, you'll never replace it, even if there's a stain, because the new square looks so different than the ones around it because of the wear. I doubt you'll really do it. I don't care what you do, but that's been my experience on those. Next thing I would say is I think that when you've been in a place a long time, the things like the carpet, the paint, they all fade. They all look fine to you. You've seen it 100 times. None of it's a problem. But I think getting a new carpet, new paint, whatever, those kind of things, it really can freshen things up, really make things look a lot better. So I'm in super favor of that. I'm super favor of doing the carpet and maybe future small projects like this, if anything, that's kind of gone a really long time. After I've spieled all that, I am kind of in favor of tabling it for now. I think we should revisit it later because with COVID going on, it's probably going to be fine. It's probably going to be no big deal. We're probably going to be approving this in a month or whatever. I'm just kind of wondering if we should maybe just wait a little bit, even though kind of in general, I am in favor of these kind of improvements, and maybe since you have a lot of time, looking into more of them if you during this time, but maybe just pulling the trigger on the finances a tiny bit later might be worth it. But I'm certainly open to what other council members would say regarding that.
Mr. Lasher.
Yes, I just wanted to mention, I completely understand with Councilmember Schroeder, what he's saying is makes perfect sense to me. The only concern I have is I think that some of the reason we're getting it, the price we are, is because there's not a lot of work going on. And so my concern would be waiting 2 or 3 months, we're out of this, and all of a sudden everybody is saying, boy, we've been sitting around the house and things like that, and this carpet's really in rough shape. Let's call somebody and see if we can get some carpet put in. And we've got money now because we're back to work and things like that. And so it may take a little longer to get it replaced, and will the price be the same? I don't know. But yet, Dr. Schroeder makes some great points, and I am comfortable either way council would decide to go.
Thank you. Mr. Elsall.
Yeah, so I heard Councilman Schroeder and what the manager has had to say about this. I still land on the side of we should just go ahead and do it. I think now's the time to get it done. It's especially since the price came in way under budget, and I mean, yeah, we're spending a little money, but it's money that was budgeted for this purpose. I don't view this as like a extravagant type expense. It's more practical than anything else, really. And with nobody at City Hall, or at least just the skeleton crew that is at City Hall, it's the right time to do it. The price is right. The time is right. I hear what Councilman Schroeder is saying on tapping the brakes on spending and all that, but even considering all that, which I think is something that we ought to consider, I think it's just price, time, all things considered. I think we should go ahead with this, so I'll vote in favor of this.
Mr. Lasher.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, and Councilmember Elsoff actually brought it up, the last point was that we do have City Hall closed. And so the nice thing is that they could get it here maybe next week and start on the senior room and then the foyer downstairs and things like that. with no one here, and then it kind of limits the interruptions with staff that are here working. So, but that's all I had to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing just to keep in mind on the budget considerations, just so we make sure that we're understanding how our revenues flow. The state of Kansas is looking at like probably a $1 billion shortfall, but their tax revenues not only are property taxes, they also get revenues from income taxes and sales taxes. City of Bel Aire, our primary sources of revenue are property taxes and sales tax. So we're going to see some shortfall in sales tax, and we don't have the crystal ball as what that's going to be. So I appreciate Dr. Schroeder's concerns as well, because we're going to see some shortfall. I also agree with Mr. Elsoff concerning timing and price and those things, and it is in the budget. So, I don't get to vote, so I won't be voting, but I would be in favor of doing it. But we do need to keep in our focus the fact that we are going to see a shortfall in the sales tax revenues. We just don't have the crystal ball what that's going to be today. Any other discussion? I see Mr. Welsh is asked to make a motion. You're muted.
Yeah, I just saw that. I had to unmute myself. I agree with quite a bit of the comments too, but I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the proposal from Jabara Carpet Outlet in the amount of $15,271.11 for replacing the carpet in the administration area and the senior center at City Hall, and authorize the mayor to sign. Do I need to read that again? Because I didn't read it as written.
I think you're fine. It sounds like you got everything, unless Jack, our city attorney, has something different.
Mr. Mayor, I think you may be on mute.
Thank you. City Attorney, does the motion need to say have a not to exceed price in it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, can you say that one more time? I had a hard time hearing you.
Does the motion need to have not to exceed price in it? The way it's written on the agenda is that a cost not to exceed, and it's a blank.
Correct,
And
yes.
I said that.
I would ask that the motion have a not to exceed price in it. It doesn't have to, but as it's drafted, it seems to kind of set those boundaries, so I recommend including that.
Thank you. Okay, I have two council members who requested to talk, and Councilmember Welch has requested to make amendment. So let's go through the talk real quick.
Mr. Mayor, I was just going to comment that I think that amount to not to exceed was requested to be $17,000 in our packet, different from the quotes that were listed there. And I think the rationale for that was to provide an allowance for some of the elements that were variable in that quote.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you. And Councilmember Elsoff.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Welch, would you like to amend your motion?
Well, do we want to use the $17,000 figure or the $15,000 figure then?
I think the $17,000 is appropriate because when you get into these projects, every once in a while there's something that you didn't know about.
Okay, I don't have that figure in front of me right now. Somebody else I can revoke my motion, whatever the right term is to do that. If somebody else wants to make the motion with the appropriate amount.
Do you want to withdraw your motion?
I will withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Does another council member want to make a motion? Mr. Elsoff.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the proposal from Jabara Carpet Outlet for replacing the carpet in the administration area and the senior center at City Hall at a cost not to exceed $17,000 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Smith has seconded the motion. Any additional discussion? Dr. Schroeder would like to talk.
I'm just going to say I feel really weird that I'm going to be voting against this because I think these kind of things are a really good idea, and I think these kind of little improvements really do enhance, and I'm for them going forward and doing them. But I just think if things go down for a while and we would not have $17,000 for an employee or something, we'd be kicking ourselves. And so I just think it'd be fine to wait a month. So I feel I'm voting against this because I am super in favor of these kind of things. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thank you. And Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to ask our city manager if our finance director has reviewed the finances and potentially updated any projections that maybe would make us all feel very comfortable in approving this proposal.
Yeah, so obviously he is watching the numbers. We're just now starting to see the actual impact because our numbers usually come from a month prior. We know we're going to have lower than budgeted revenues, so there's no question about that. It looks like Ted is on. Would like to discuss or have some further comments.
Yeah, frankly, if you saw my finance report this month, we haven't experienced the effects of Corona or COVID-19 yet. The biggest thing we have is the financial stability in our city. That is, we have a $3 million, which is about 50% of revenues in our reserves, which is what it's designed to do to ride the wave until you get to the next year. I've been on a lot of different calls, and there's a lot of cities that aren't that fortunate. However, what we're doing as a staff is thinking a lot like Dr. Schroeder was with every purchase we have is, can we wait till we know the effects or not? The reason that this carpet bid came up is one, because it was in our budget that we designed. There's a lot of rips that could potentially harm employees with trip. We get rated with our work comp insurance every year. So that's another little element we had to discuss when we're talking about spending money on carpet. This is one of those things that we chose to go forward with. And this time, there's a lot of things that I'm saying, hey, let's wait a little bit on right now. But that's kind of my update is we'll have to really see when the real numbers start rolling in. We're talking 8% sales tax maybe. Without getting too far into it, the city of Bel Aire is a lot different of a city than we don't have a lot of big box chains that are closed right now that are really going to affect cities like Manhattan, cities like Overland Park, where they rely heavily on sales tax. Sales tax is about 22% of our budget. So property tax is the main worry of our city. And right now, it seems to be we're wait and see on property taxes, how it's going to affect us. If there is long-term unemployment, that's when we'll start to get really worried. But right now, we're still on the wait and see and cautiously moving forward. I hope that helps.
Councilmember Smith, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I appreciate those comments, Mr. Henry. I think that's very helpful. I think it's especially helpful for me to hear you say that you're comfortable with this purchase. I've sat through enough of your finance presentations and talked with you enough to know that you tend to be very conservative when you estimate things, and you're typically not a fan of spending money. And so I do connect with Dr. Schroeder's concerns, but I think that discussion has helped me get pretty comfortable with this. So thank you for that.
From location, this is Ted Henry signing off.
Okay. Your reporter. Huh? Any other discussion concerning this motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. So the motion carries 4-1. Well, thank you very much. I have no need for an executive session. Any reason for an executive session?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
would you, since the motion wasn't completely one way or the other, would you state the way the vote went? Like the one,
Oh, sure.
Sure,
Sorry.
thank you.
The ayes were Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Welch, Councilmember Elsoff, and Councilwoman Wynn, and the nay was Dr. Schroeder. So Ty says, FYI, one of the biggest rips is in Ted's office. Okay. So he doesn't want to trip over that rip. Okay. Thank you. Any need for an executive session? Hearing nothing there. Discussions. Ted. He has kids. That's why he's concerned about kids. Okay. Discussion of future issues. Does anyone have any future discussions or issues they would like to bring up? Hearing none, I would appreciate feedback. Doesn't have to be right now, but I would appreciate the feedback on how this meeting went, what we might do to make them better. We may have to do this again. I don't know that for a fact. I don't have the crystal ball, but I would appreciate your feedback on it so we can keep improving. So, Dr. Schroeder, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. And Councilmember Smith seconded that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll go for a vote. Call for a vote. Got 4 votes of wait for fit. There it is. Okay, so the motion carries 5-0. We are done. Thank you very much. I hope everybody has a pleasant and great evening and rest of your week. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.